Anisa, Leslie, you and McKinstry work very closely with schools. Is there such a thing as a budget neutral contracting strategy?
Well, sure. There are a few different ways to tackle some of these bigger problems. I mean, the grant funding that's available today and the new investment tax credit and direct pay coming from the federal government for some of these technologies is a game changer. I mean, it absolutely is a game changer. We are seeing many, many more school districts look at options like geothermal ground source heat pump systems for HVAC replacement because they can now get anywhere from a 30 to 50%, even up to 60% cost reimbursement of those systems based on, a tax credit that they can receive later as just a direct big payment. It looks like a utility rebate at this point. It's very, very exciting. Same thing for solar PV and for battery storage. And so a lot of the newer technologies that really will help towards decarbonization are now more accessible to the public sector in general, but specifically for K-12. I agree with Anisa that there is a ton of state and even local funding. I mean, Denver Public Schools has benefited from a carbon tax that was passed in Denver and a community solar garden that has installed several solar canopies at DPS parking lots. I mean, they just got those for free with all the great work and the connection that their sustainability people have with the city. So, looking at what you can do with other funding is the number one thing. Where can I get free money? That's number one. I think looking at the bond issues and thinking about how you can augment that bond money with other cost neutral solutions. Energy performance contracting is a legislation that exists in almost every state in the union that allows districts to pay for improvements with energy savings over time, where they can take out a loan and actually do those investments up front and then pay for them with guaranteed energy savings. Schools spend $8 billion a year, according to the Department of Energy, on energy costs, energy and water and utility costs. It's the second largest line item in their budget next to teacher salaries. And I know, based on all the work that we've done, that 30 to 50% of that is just purely wasted. It's money that you're paying to your utility that you can repurpose into upgrades. There's also a lot of private investment these days. There are private investors that are willing to come in and invest in big, kind of game changer opportunities. The Hillsborough County Public Schools down in Florida has been using energy as a service, and they combined that with a big bond that was passed so that they didn't have to value engineer all of the systems that they wanted to put into schools. And, really combining that with a lot of operational efficiency and ways that consultants and others can get in there to really think about how do they operate the schools? How are they managing their service contracts? How can they deal with scheduling of equipment and making sure that equipment isn't running when it's not supposed to be? Large districts, it can be overwhelming to manage all of those data points. So there's lots of savings to be had that can be funding many of these upgrades from both a health and safety standpoint and also moving forward on their path to decarbonization.
Can I add one? So in addition to the clean energy investment tax credits, which can, as Leslie noted, make heat pumps and solar and battery storage way more cost effective. In addition to that, the IRA funded a bunch of state and local resilience programs. And what we've seen is that a lot of school districts, especially the smaller ones, are not networked with their regional resilience hubs, regional resilience offices within their area. And so that's actually a pretty easy step to take as a district, is just to reach out to some of those offices that handle resilience in the area, in the levels of government, and try to figure out what resources they have and whether the school system can kind of help them achieve the resilience goals within their plans, because that there's a lot of money there. And a lot of times those states and local entities are looking for smart ways to invest those federal dollars in resilience, and a school system can use that for your own needs.
And I'd like to make a plug for another big round of ESSER money. And the reason I say that is that in the rural districts, many of them did use their ESSER funds for school upgrades, and it was a really important amount of money for them. In the larger districts, learning loss and other things took priority, and that was, that made sense. But the rural districts really were able to use those funds and do some great work to improve indoor air quality and upgrade a lot of old equipment that was at the end of its useful life. So wish the federal government would give more of that, because it was dispersed quickly and it was easily spent. And many of these other programs have a lot of hoops to go through. In fact, the RAS grant, the Renew America's Schools grant that came out from the IRA, which in the first round gave some pretty substantial grants to 25 school districts. So it's only 25 got them, very competitive, but also very difficult to manage, just the requirements, that are kind of going through the DOE, and it's just taking time. So anything we can do to expedite and get money out to schools quickly, I'm a fan of.
If anybody's interested on the line in advocating for federal money to go to schools, I'm actually chair of the school infrastructure advocacy coalition called the BASIC Coalition, that advocates for federal investment in schools. And we would love more people voicing that need, because it is the need for direct federal investment, and especially the local communities that don't have enough local tax base, is pretty dire. As Leslie was saying.
Yeah, I think your report said that in general, I think only 1% of capital funding comes from the federal government for schools.
Yeah,
so
and that's FEMA, mostly FEMA dollars. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. For emergencies from hurricanes or wildfires or whatever's going on. So, yeah.